has been described as a world in one country. Within about the same size as the western United States, there are modern cities located throughout every type of natural terrain possible. Seashores to deserts, flat plains leading to rolling green hills and snow-capped mountains. Plus, of course, the bush country, teeming with nearly every type of animal on the continent of Africa. Just that name brings back memories of countless safari movies with the brave hunters surviving all odds to secure their goals. Well, the Formula One Grand Prix Safari has arrived. 26 teams, heavily armed with turbo motors, carbon fiber chassis, disc brakes, slippery aerodynamics, and 16-inch wide tires, all testing the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. The great hunters themselves have been described as young lions, showing all the bravery, quickness, and timing of the most clever big cats. But on the Grand Prix Safari, the hunters often become the hunted. All 26 of them stalk each other throughout 2 days of practice and qualifying in preparation for their final test of courage and ability around this most challenging Kyalami circuit. There are 3 trophies being tracked this weekend. Victory at a Grand Prix event, plus the title for the World Championship of Drivers and Constructors. The South African Grand Prix is the last of 15 events taking place all over the world. An 8-month trek, which has come down to the most exciting conclusion ever in modern Grand Prix racing. There are 3 drivers here capable of capturing the World Championship. That situation has pitched 3 major manufacturers, BMW, Renault, and Ferrari, against each other in a technical battle of speed and dependability, each seeking that perfect combination that will lead their driver to the World Championship crown. This is John Bizignano in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'll be your host along with Brian Kreisky for this ESPN 90-minute coverage of the South African Grand Prix for Formula One racing cars. Brian and I will be presenting special reports, driver interviews with the 3 potential world champions, all the latest F1 updates, plus the fantastic Grand Prix race action. Please be with us after this short message when we return for the final round of the 1983 F1 season and the crowning of this year's world champion. Oh, what a race it's gonna be. We'll be right back. Professional race car drivers don't appreciate being classified in simple collective terms such as speed freaks or leadfoots. Their goal is to control the high-speed testing environment of 5th gear. There's nothing reckless about it. If top speed was their sole desire, they would be at Bonneville Salt Flats rather than Kyalami Road Racing Circuit, where the speeds and terrain vary from 2 tight 50-mile-an-hour second-gear corners to the mile-long straight, where F1 cars spend more than 20 seconds in 5th between 170 and 200 miles an hour. But when you talk to drivers about their life in 5th gear at above 170, they always get a special glow, revealing that sheer pleasure they all love from going that fast. It's an environment so uncommon to the body senses that all feelings and perceptions are pushed far beyond the normal maximum 100% level. After that split-second reaction that moves the gear lever into 5th and the RPMs start rapidly climbing, so does every body sensation, sight, smell, hearing, touch, even taste, all become ultra-sharp, working at levels that just can't be pushed that high by other normal activities. At 180 miles an hour, 1 second covers 264 feet. At 200, the length of a football field rockets past every second. judgments must be correctly made in inches or thousandths of a second. How well a driver performs in this strange, stressed, top-speed environment determines both his success and safety. It is one thing to deal with this fifth gear speed alone on the track, but things become really interesting when you put 26 competitive drivers all together. Battle shows through. We're with Derek Warwick, the #1 driver for the Tolman team. Derek, here at Carl Army, the Formula One cars spend more time in fifth gear at over 180 miles an hour than any other circuit. What is that like?
Well, I mean, it's exciting because when you go along the straight for such a long throttle opening in fifth gear, it's something like 20 seconds down here. Obviously, you've got time to think about everything the car is doing, the lap before, and it gives you a lot of feeling for the car, because when it's going down there and the engine's throbbing away, it makes you feel exactly what everything's doing, and it sort of excites everything you do.
Your perceptions become 110, 120%.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Now, is that an enjoyable thing to do alone, or but it must become a little complicated when there's 25 other cars doing it with you?
Well, when you go down there with a lot of other cars, of course, it becomes actually more enjoyable, because when you're in the aerodynamic wake of another car, you then pull out and you try and overtake, and it makes it much more exciting, because, you know, you get down, you get the slipstream, and Jesus, you know, you go into the corner and you may have picked up 300 or 400 revs, so, you know, it's better.
But at that speed, you're covering the length of a football field in 1 second. You must make those judgments in milliseconds and in inches almost.
Yeah, in a way you don't really get a sense of speed, because you don't actually fixate your eye on a sign or a bridge or whatever, because you're concentrating on what the engine's doing, what the car's doing, the instruments, the lap before, how you can better the next lap, how you can pass the car in front. All that sort of thing goes on in a straightaway.
Is that top speed, do you love it? And is that one of the reasons that you're here? Is that one of the reasons that you go racing?
I suppose so, yes. It's speed, really. I mean, that's the reason I done Le Mans. I mean, at Le Mans you're doing speeds of 350 kilometers an hour, and it was something I had to do, I wanted to do, so I went over there and done it. I suppose it's the speed that really excites me, yeah.
350 kilometers, that's almost 240 miles an hour.
About 235, I think we were doing there, yeah.
Somewhere along there you must become at least startled, if not afraid.
Not afraid, no, but you're aware of, if you have an accident, it's going to be a big one.
So basically you love the part of speed that motor racing makes up in your life?
Well, for sure, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I mean, it's the thrill of going faster than somebody else that makes me keep on doing it.
Derek, good luck at top speed in fifth gear this weekend.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
It was Graham Hill who summed it all up by saying, "It takes a great lack of imagination to be a really quick racing car driver." If any of us ever imagined what would happen in an accident at over 180 miles an hour, we'd never step into the cars. Well, the problem is it takes a great imagination to be an effective ESPN motorsports correspondent. The only way to accurately report about life in fifth gear at over 180 miles an hour is to make a trip to that special environment myself and hopefully return with a personal report. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. You don't want to miss this one. With great difficulty to squeeze into the tight Benetton-Tyrrell chassis, two things were racing through my mind. First, was I capable of 180 miles per hour? Even though I'm a retired veteran of over 200 races, the last time I had 500 horsepower behind me in an open-wheel single-seater was in 1970. My last full season was in 1977. But the doubt was overwhelmed by the anticipation of what I knew that fifth gear environment would produce. Everybody's sensation pumping away at 120%. Once strapped in, my mind turned to only one thing: fulfilling a lifelong desire to drive a Formula One racing car and to once again enter that top speed world. Nothing else mattered. The risks involved were pushed to the back of my mind, trying to subdue that imagination that created this trial. Ken Tyrrell was risking $250,000 worth of Formula One race car. I, and maybe even more. Every lap brought more security and cautious confidence. By the third tour, I was there, flat down in fifth for over 20 seconds, and every sensation going over the top. Well, home safely in the pits after spending 5 laps in the top speed environment here around Kyalami. It was unbelievable. The acceleration, first of all. My tongue was actually rolling back in my mouth because of the acceleration of the car. I physically had to hold it down. My eyes were being pulled back. I felt like someone on one of those jet sleds you see with their skin being wrinkled by the acceleration. But the top speed itself was the most special thing. You weren't only going down the road, but the end of the road was rushing towards you. It was a whole nother dimension of speed. And like I was hoping, the sensations were pushed above the 100% level. The vision was like turning up the bright control on your color television. Everything that was colorful was twice as colorful. The sound of the motor wasn't just a roar of an engine. You could actually hear the mechanics of it, the tappets up and down, valves opening and closing. It was unbelievable. Even the smell and the taste, to actually be able to smell the tires or even taste them as they go over your lips. It's incredible. Now, the feeling of it, you say race car drivers must feel it in the seat of their pants. Well, if they feel it there, they're about 2 seconds too late. You have to feel it in the end of your fingertips. And it's a remarkable sensation that speed pushes your perceptions to the limits that you become that alive. Maybe the only thing that comes close to it is snow skiing back in good old Breckenridge, Colorado, when you point the skis straight down the mountain and you're on the limit and your body has to go up to 100% or maybe even beyond to maintain stability, to maintain life. But there you're only with yourself in the mountain. Here you're with 500 horsepower and a machine that's trying to control you instead of you control it. The only disappointment was having to come in. I would still like to be out there and feeling that again. I want to thank Ken Tyrrell and especially the Benetton Tyrrell team for giving me this opportunity. And we certainly appreciate the fine cooperation of the people here at Kyalami Raceway for letting us do these 5 flying laps in 5th gear.
And so practice gets underway here for round 15, the World Championship decider, the 1983 South African Grand Prix. And a man with an awful lot to prove is a man who sits on pole position, the Frenchman Patrick Tambay, recently fired, would you believe, from the Ferrari team, having his last ever race for that team, gets pole position with a time of 1 minute, 6.554 seconds. That represents an average speed of just under 138 miles per hour. So this is the last race for Patrick Tambay. He has a lot to prove and he must be smiling within himself with that pole position gained in front of his teammate René Arnoux. To this observer it seems very strange that Tambay has been fired for the 1984 season, but that's the politics within the Ferrari team.
Patrick Tambay, who is with Ferrari and also on pole position here at the Kyalami Grand Prix. Patrick, you have many fans in the United States with your racing there. They want to know several questions. First of all, what is it like to be in your last Ferrari drive and also on pole position?
It's difficult.
Well, Patrick, it's hard for us to believe that after the work you've done for them this year, that the Enzo Ferrari has chosen a very capable but less experienced driver for 1984. Please try and tell us what you feel inside about that.
Well, they have given me a lot this year and in the past year and a half. And it was very positive for me.
Patrick, another question is...
I don't think I can do that, okay?
All right.
I'm sorry.
Best of luck tomorrow, okay? Patrick Tambay in a very short interview, but he summed it up beautifully. His emotions of this very brave man on the edge of tears. Tomorrow will be his last Ferrari drive starting on pole position. Enzo Ferrari has decided to try and make an Italian world champion out of the up-and-coming Michele Alboreto. Patrick has done an incredible job for them, but here he is at Kyle Army, last race of the year, out of a job, searching around for 84. I'm sure there's plenty of people who will want his talent.
Second quickest in practice, driving the Parmalat Brabham BMW on a 1 minute 6.792 second lap, Nelson Piquet, who lies second in the World Championship, just 2 points behind the championship leader prior to this race, Frenchman Alain Prost. The Parmalat Brabham BMW seems to be the quickest car in a straight line, speeds attained of just over 190 miles per hour in that long straight down to the first corner at Crowthorns. Many people regard Nelson Piquet as the favourite to win this year's World Championship to add to his 1981 world title.
Nelson Piquet, you seem very relaxed here in your Brabham BMW pits. How can you be so relaxed? You're only 2 points away from becoming world champion.
Well, I think only I seem relaxed, but I'm not very relaxed. I'm very nervous.
Did some of that nervousness come through in your qualifying session here? You actually spun the car in one of the fastest corners on the circuit.
Yeah, today I did, it was the worst day I think I can say driving for Dizzy. I spun off, I missed gears, and I did the worst I could do today.
So the pressure is on you then, and you are feeling it?
Yeah, for sure, it's something different.
Okay. For one of your worst days, you came up second on the grid. That's not such a bad day.
Well, I was the quickest today, but still I could have been improving today the time.
What kind of a race plan do you have for tomorrow? Are you going to just try and win the race, or are you just going to try and get 2 points ahead of your competition, René Arnoux and Alain Prost, or?
Well, it depends after 10 laps. If the guys right behind me have to win the race. If he stop, I have to finish only 2 points in front of him. It's all depends of the race tomorrow.
Does your mind go back throughout the season? It must, where you can see where you could have picked up those 2 or 3 points.
Well, I only can say that this year I only make one mistake in all season. I did a bad start in Imola. I think during all season I did a nearly perfect season. I didn't have any race I could say that was a bad race for me.
What about other people's mistakes then? Your mind must go back to Holland, where you could have won that race or at least picked up some points that you could be leading now the World Championship here.
Well, it's better you forget about the past and look for tomorrow. You know? Tomorrow is a very important race, and then try to do the best I can.
Are you and Alain Prost was the one who put you off in Holland? How is it between the two of you with the championship and that particular incident earlier in the year?
When you are fighting for the first place and fight for the first position in the championship and have an accident like this, I cannot blame him. He made a mistake, he realized that. But it was not like a year before, the same thing I had with Salazar. There was 1 lap behind me. So I can understand, we're human beings, we can make mistakes sometimes.
Nelson, best of luck tomorrow for you and the Brabham BMW.
Thank you very much.
And so practice continues here at Kyalami for the South African Grand Prix. In third place on the grid, the Italian driver Riccardo Patrese with the Parmalat Brabham BMW, time of 1 minute 7.001 seconds. It's also rumoured that this may well be Riccardo Patrese's last race with the Parmalat Brabham team, but it's an important race for him, and he could serve the team very well by keeping both Alain Prost and René Arnoux behind, so that Nelson Piquet could have that all-important 2-point cushion by the end of the South African Grand Prix. Fourth place on the grid is the second Ferrari for the Frenchman René Arnoux, 1 minute 7.105 second lap for him during qualifying. Arnoux is in with an outside chance of winning the World Championship, but to do so he must win this race, the South African Grand Prix, and pray that neither Alain Prost nor Nelson Piquet finish in the points. It will only be then that he could be counted as the 1983 World Champion. He is, of course, to be retained in the Ferrari team for the 1984 season.
René Arnoux is the man with most to do in the World Championship. Of the 3 drivers, he is down 8 points. René, the only way you can win the World Championship is if Nelson Piquet drops out along with the Renault of Alain Prost and you win the race. How do you feel your chances are of that happening?
I have my chance to win the championship because this race is very long and is very important also the fiability. But I know that I must win this race, and I hope that Piquet and Prost stop during the race.
So tomorrow you're going to be going flat out the whole time. You have nothing to lose.
Yes, but it depends also of my car, of my tires, of many things, because the Brabham is very competitive, it's very quick, and I think with the race tire is good. Anyway, I play my card.
The Kyle Army circuit is a very quick circuit. You're in fifth gear here most of the way around. Do you enjoy that?
I like all track, not especially Calamy, but I like Calamy. It's nice because it's a long straight, and after we have much work because there's two big bend and slow corners. It's very interesting. Anyway.
Many championships have been won in the exact same position you're in, and we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
3/10 slower than his arch-rival Nelson Piquet, comes in 5th position Frenchman Alain Prost with number 15, the Renault Turbo. Alain, who led the World Championship by a handsome 14 points earlier on in the season after he won the Austrian Grand Prix, has seen that lead dwindle to just 2 points. Perhaps the megabucks involved in the Renault team has caused too many internal politics, but you can be sure that Alain Prost has his heart set on becoming the first ever French world champion.
Alain Prost with the Renault team is currently the World Championship leader. Very difficult position, Alain. A lot of pressure on the track?
No, not on the track. I think the pressure is out of my car because, you know, there's a lot of journalists, all the French people are waiting for first world champion in France, and that is a bit difficult, but no, it's okay. This is the last race. We don't think about the last few races. We don't think about the next season. We only think about the race tomorrow, and I think it's not bad. I'm very quiet in my car. I'm confident about the reliability of this car, and I wait for the race.
But Alain, that's a very calm answer, but as you said, there's never been a French world champion. All the great drivers out of France, and here you are having the best opportunity to bring the World Cup home. It's a very nationalistic sport. That must enter your mind, either in qualifying or the race.
Yes, but you know, it's very important for me to win the championship. It's very important for Renault, and if I am first French champion, it's good. It's good for me, it's good for everybody, but I think about myself first and then think about France.
You've had a fantastic dependability throughout your season. You've scored points in 9 out of 14 races. That has to come with a combination of engines and tires, and the whole effort has to be correct.
Yes, everything was okay this year. I think we missed first 2 races because we had the last car, the old car, and after it was a very good combination. We were very competitive on some tracks. We had a good reliability, but the problem is at the end of the season the Brabham was very strong. With the same tires, with the Michelin tires, they were very good, and it's a good championship, but it's very difficult finish for me.
When you mention the Brabham, my mind has to go back to Holland. Are you still upset about your mistake there, as you told us in the Renault motorhome afterwards?
Yeah, it was a mistake, but I'm not upset because everybody does a mistake, and I did one mistake, I think, in 4 years of Formula One, and I think you know, if I lose the championship compared to Piquet, it's not a big mistake because we did not mark any points, Piquet and me, in Zandvoort, but if I lose with Arno, it's for sure it was a bad mistake.
If you are behind Piquet and you know you still have a point advantage, will you take the chance of trying to pass him to win another race, or are you going for the championship rather than the victory here?
No, I don't try to pass Piquet because the championship is too important. No.
So you'll play a different game here?
Yeah, it's a different game, but I don't want to think about this game before the race. I am going to think during the race after 30 laps. I want to see what happened.
That's something that you must compute by the moment in your mind then?
Yes, but I know if Piquet wins the race, I can't do nothing, so it's better if I think in my mind what I have to do about points.
So if Piquet is first and you're second, then everything has to go out for you to pass him and the victory.
Yes, but could be very difficult for me to win the race. I hope Tambay, for example, wins the race tomorrow.
Best of luck, and thank you for your cooperation all year long.
I need some luck. Thank you.
Now, the man who still remains world champion until the end of the South African Grand Prix tomorrow is the Finnish driver Keke Rosberg, the 1982 Formula One Grand Prix world champion, who put in an absolutely electrifying performance in practice to gain 6th place with his brand new Honda V6 turbo-powered Williams FW09. Now, Keke Rosberg is not the easiest person to deal with, and we've had a few problems throughout the year when he's been driving his Cosworth car because he's been a bit uninformative, he's been a bit down in the dumps, but here he seems to have been revitalized by having turbo power at last in the back of his Williams. He qualified 7/10 of a second slower than Patrick Tambay in pole position, a very good effort at a time of 1 minute 7.256 seconds. The Spirit team that had the Honda V6 engines are not here in South Africa, and the Honda V6s will be used exclusively in 1984 by the Williams team. 7th quickest in the John Player Special, powered of course by the Renault turbo engine, is Nigel Mansell, 1 minute 7.643 seconds. Nigel Mansell also rumoured to be leaving the John Player Special team at the end of this race, so a lot to prove for him. Of course, he finished 3rd in the European Grand Prix at Brands Hatch just 3 weeks ago. The rumour in South Africa is that Roberto Guerrero could well replace Mansell in the Lotus team. 8th place on the grid, Manfred Winkelhock, not happy with his lot during the 1983 season, also rumoured to be changing and taking along with him the BMW turbo engines. Winkelhock with the ATS BMW on a 1 minute 7.682 seconds. The reliability of the ATS car has not been its strong point this season. In 9th place on the grid, Andrea De Cesaris with the leading Alfa Romeo Turbo, and indeed there are 18 turbo-powered cars here at the South African Grand Prix. Anybody with a Cosworth DFV can just about forget to be competitive. They'll be lucky if they finish in the top 10. Track temperatures quite hot here, temperatures in the low 80s, and there in 10th place, completing the top 10 qualifiers, the man who has failed to qualify in the last 2 Grand Prix, but well in here, Jacques Lafitte with the Williams Honda. The Williams FW09, a car that looks really just right out of the box, designed of course by Patrick Head, and giving a new lease of life to the Williams team. 11th place for Elio De Angelis, who was in pole position of course at the European Grand Prix at Brands Hatch. The Pirelli qualifiers working quite well here, but once again the Pirelli race rubber not being all that it should be. De Angelis was 2nd quickest during the unofficial testing at the circuit, so could well prove quick during the race. In 12th place is Niki Lauda with the McLaren, powered of course by the TAG Turbo, the Porsche turbo engine. Niki, who in fact during the warm-up session was quickest overall, so we could well see a startling performance in the race by the Austrian driver. 13th place, Derek Warwick. He's scored World Championship points in the past 3 consecutive races, going well with the Candy Tolman in 13th place, but another man rumoured to be moving from that team to possibly the Renault team, replacing Eddie Cheever. The young American himself qualifies in 14th place on the grid, with the 2nd Renault not having a happy time during practice. Again, it's rumoured that he is leaving at the end of this season to possibly join either Lotus or Ligier. Qualifying an excellent 19th place right behind his teammate Michele Alboreto, who of course is going to the Ferrari team, is the American driver Danny Sullivan with the Benetton Tyrrell.
How do you sum up your first year's performance in Formula One?
Well, I think it was a very productive season. I scored some points. I stayed out of trouble. I qualified for every Grand Prix. Once I got 012, I've out-qualified Michele, in fact, in the last 2 races, and I'm right with him in this one. We ran together at Brands. He's taught me a lot. The team's taught me a lot. I think it went very, very well.
So you've actually accomplished everything you set out to do.
Well, yes, I would have liked to have scored some more points, preferably at Long Beach and Detroit, where we were running good, and then something happened. But I was also lucky at Monte Carlo. So yeah, it's been just about what I wanted to do.
You drove very well at Monte Carlo. There wasn't much luck in that. That had to be your best drive of the year.
Well, I think the best drive for me personally that I did the whole year was actually at Montreal. where I came back from last and went up and finished at 9th place. But I mean, just from purely driving, and I was lapping quicker than the leaders at some stages, and that was, you know, very nice. But I had some good performances here and there, so it was very pleasing.
Let me ask you, Danny, there's very few American drivers who like to leave their home turf to come and learn 14, 15 new circuits. Why is that?
Well, I think they get comfortable in the States. They've never really been abroad. They've never raced abroad. The customs are different. The people are different. Everything is a little bit different, and it takes a little bit getting used to, and I don't think that they really like that. I mean, Freddie Spencer, the American world champion now, he said one of the things he hated about being in Europe was all the different currencies, you know, and changing money all the time. And so for them, it's maybe easier to stay in their nice, comfortable surroundings. We have a very, very good lifestyle in America, and some people don't like to give that up for what they feel is inferior. For me, I want to race in Formula One. I always have, and so I don't really care.
Danny, your contract with Tyrrell is a 2-year deal, correct?
Yes, a little bit longer, actually, but...
Can you give us any hint who's going to be your teammate next year?
No, in fact, 5 minutes ago I came from a talk with Ken, and he said, I don't know. I really don't know. He may have somebody in his mind, but he said, I don't know, because we can't announce who the engine is going to be for next year, so I don't know. And we can't announce who the sponsor is yet, and until he has a sponsor, he can't very well go and get another driver, because he can't know whether he can pay him or if he has to take another sponsor who dictates the driver.
Danny, best of luck tomorrow, and thank you for your cooperation on ESPN all season long.
Thanks everybody there, and all the viewers back in America.
So an intriguing race in store for us here in South Africa. Who will be world champion? Alain Prost, Nelson Piquet, or René Arnoux? Join us after the short break. Before we continue our coverage of the South African Grand Prix, let's take a brief look at the European Grand Prix held 3 weeks ago at Brands Hatch. A very spectacular affair. De Angelis was in pole position. Nelson Piquet knew that he had to get into the lead and win the race. Alain Prost also realized it was a very important race for him. Into an early lead went Riccardo Patrese with a palm lap Brabham. He was chased by Elio De Angelis with a John Player Special Lotus, powered of course by the Renault engine, and it was a very exciting event indeed. Mansell lying third in the early stages, fourth in those early stages as Nelson Piquet, but moving up. But all eyes on this big battle between Riccardo Patrese and Elio De Angelis. René Arnoux getting into the top 6 placings. And for the first 8 laps, Patrese and De Angelis fought tooth and nail until this controversial incident happened. De Angelis losing it, trying to take the lead, taking out Riccardo Patrese as well. De Angelis' engine was to explode after this incident. Patrese was to continue. But for Danny Sullivan, who'd had a very good practice, was running with Alboreto, a broken oil line there, fracturing going through Paddock Hill Bend. The car spins, but just look at the rear end of the car, an absolute flamethrower. We see it again from a different angle. The young American very lucky to get away without writing off that car. Once again, we see this in freeze frame. Sullivan driving it off then to a marshal's post, where it was doused with extinguishant and the flames put out. And in the latter stages of the race, Tambay also out with a brake failure. He hit the tyre wall. Remember, Patrick Tambay could have won the World Championship had he scored World Championship points in this race. He failed to do so. So Nelson Piquet went on to win his 3rd Grand Prix of the season. Alain Prost in the Renault finished in an excellent 2nd place. So the World Championship going right down to the last race, of course, in South Africa. Finishing in an excellent 3rd place at Brands Hatch was Nigel Mansell with the John Player Special. And so we move back to Kyalami in South Africa for this World Championship decider. Mammoth crowds coming to the circuit, I think from all over South Africa. The television stations, well, more than 42 countries will be taking this event. And really the World Championship, this final round, has captured the imagination of the sporting countries throughout the world. A gigantic media interest for Formula One Grand Prix racing. And this really has been the case throughout the 1983 season. We've had this tremendous battle between major manufacturers, between the world's best drivers. It's been Renault, BMW, Ferrari. Then, of course, we've had Nelson Piquet, René Arnoux, Alain Prost, Riccardo Patrese, we've had Patrick Tambay, we've had the world's best, and it's all come down to this incredible finale here in South Africa under bright, ideal conditions, and the Formula One cars going out to form up on the grid for this vital final race. The race itself will be over 77 laps then of the 2.55 mile circuit, a total distance of 196 miles, just over perhaps 1.5 hours of racing. The previous lap record is held by Alain Prost at a time of 1 minute 8.278 seconds, set last year, an average speed of 134 miles per hour. In practice, in fact, the first 14 cars below that lap record, and Patrick Tambay in that pole position time 1 3/4 seconds faster than the existing lap record. Join us after this short break for the start of the South African Grand Prix. Alain Prost with the Renault on Michelin tyres, the man who so desperately wants to win the World Championship for himself, for Renault, but above all for France. Nelson Piquet, there, thumbs up, a very relaxed man. Piquet, the 1981 world champion, here driving the Parmalat Brabham BT52. 2 points behind Alain Prost, is going all out for victory. Or will it be René Arnoux, the Ferrari driver, and the other Frenchman who could win the world title for France? Well, in about 1 hour, 35 minutes, we'll know. There the World Championship positions. 4th place, Patrick Tambay. 5th, Rosberg. 6th, John Watson. In the World Championship for manufacturers, also very important, we have Ferrari in 1st place with 89 points, Renault in 2nd place with 78 points, in 3rd place, Brabham with 59, 4th, Williams with 36, 5th, McLaren with 34, and 6th, equal Tyrrell and Alfa Romeo, both with 12 points. So Renault, in theory, could still win the World Championship for manufacturers. They're 11 points behind Ferrari, so both of their cars must finish in the top 6 and score those valuable championship points. So Renault have everything to play for here, a World Championship for drivers and the World Championship for manufacturers. So the cars now getting away on those dry, slick tyres down into Crowthorns, the very sharp right-hander. From there they go to Barbecue Bend, then to Yuskai Sweep, onto Sunset Bend, and there one of the McLarens, that's John Watson with the TAG turbo-powered McLaren, stuck on the grid, but he's being pushed away and will catch up the tail end of the field, although remember he must start then from last place. We know about John Watson's charges from the rear. We've seen that many times in Grand Prix racing. So 25 of the 26 cars coming around the 2.55 mile circuit here, the Kyle Army circuit. Who will be World Championship? And the world waiting, I think, with bated breath to find who will win the World Championship. And media coverage, well, I can't remember the media coverage that we've had in Grand Prix racing more attentive than we've had here for the South African Grand Prix of 1983. We wait for the red lights to come on. 6 to 10 seconds later will be the green. All cars have been formed up on the grid. Seem to be waiting for quite some time. Derek Ongaro, the official starter, up on the starting rostrum. There the red lights. And there the green lights. The South African Grand Prix, the last round of the World Championship, is now underway, and straight into the lead has gone Nelson Piquet, and Riccardo Patrese has also made a very good start. So look at the lead that Piquet has coming into Crowthorne for the first time. Patrese is in 2nd place. Parmalat Brabham 1st and 2nd, and De Chesris coming up into 4th place, Tambay in 3rd place, but De Chesris making an absolutely incredible getaway from 9th place on the grid. But look at the way Piquet has got through, and that looks to be Keke Rosberg challenging Alain Prost. So it's Nelson Piquet, Riccardo Patrese, Patrick Tambay in 3rd place, De Chesris trying to get through in 4th place, Prost is in 5th place. But look at Nelson Piquet. It seems that Piquet is going to make a relatively early pit stop. He's got a light fuel load on board. Obviously the plan in the Parmalat Brabham team is that Piquet is to build up a substantial lead. He's going to come in a lot earlier than we've seen him in the previous races, coming in for those all-important fuel stops. Piquet leads, Patrese 2nd, Tambay 3rd, De Chesris 4th, Prost 5th, and Keke Rosberg in 6th place. But look at the lead that Piquet's got. Patrese in 2nd, Tambay 3rd, De Chesris trying to get past into 3rd place. 5th is Prost, but 3rd place De Chesris, 4th place now Prost, 5th Tombay, 6th Rosberg, 7th Arnoux, 8th Winklock. And look there, a touch I think between Eddie Cheever, yes, and Jacques Lafitte. Lafitte goes off with the new Williams Honda. He touched Eddie Cheever, tried to get by on the outside. The two are coming together. And Jacques Lafitte with the Williams FW09 started off in 10th place on the grid. The debut race for the Williams Honda for Jacques Lafitte. He's out of the race, looks to be completely unharmed. And we see it again in slow motion replay. And there, Jacques Lafitte going off at high speed, going through the catch fencing, being stopped by that catch fencing before he hits the tyre wall. But we go back to the race, and there is Nelson Piquet, and Piquet with the Parmalat Brabham is not hanging about. He's pulling out a 5-second lap advantage. There's Cheever, and also going up well is Derek Warwick. Warwick now up into 11th place. Jacques Lafitte crosses the road, runs across the road. Manfred Winklock with the ATS BMW, who was in 8th place, slowing right down, will be another retirement. But here's the leader, Nelson Piquet, Patrese in 2nd place, De Cesaris 3rd, Prost in 4th place. He's got to do better than that, Prost, if he's going to win the World Championship title. And René Arnoux still in 7th place. So Arnoux, who must win this race, short of a miracle, looks as if he is not in the World Championship hunt anymore. Ginsani with a very slow kilometre Acela, powered of course by the normally aspirated Alfa Romeo engine, out of the race. Piquet and De Cesaris now closing up on Patrese in 2nd place, and also taking with him Alain Prost. We must always remember that Prost must finish at least within 2 points of Nelson Piquet to win the World Championship. There the car being removed from the barriers, and there's 2nd place Patrese. 3rd place is De Cesaris, and I think right by De Cesaris now, closing up on him, is Alain Prost. Prost realising he's got to get on terms with Nelson Piquet. Piquet has a lead then of 8 seconds, Patrese 2nd, De Cesaris 3rd, Prost 4th, Tombay in 5th place, 6th Rosberg now being challenged by René Arnoux in 7th place. Incidentally, John Watson threaded his way up onto the grid after he jumped into his spare car when his race car wouldn't start, and as with Winklock at Zandvoort, he's been black flagged and he will be brought to a stop and excluded from the race. Elio De Angelis into the pits rather early, it would seem. He's having problems with his tyres. At the moment he's down in 12th place. A quick change of tyres there and he'll be away. Or will he? Doesn't look that quick. De Cesaris 3rd still with the Alfa, under a lot of pressure now from Alain Prost. Patrese is now pulling away in that 2nd place, and the Parmalat Brabham BMW is absolutely dominant in this event. And they're actually coming up behind Patrick Tambay, I think, is Niki Lauda. So Lauda, who was quickest in the warm-up session, making an appreciable effort here in the race at South Africa. Patrese 2nd, De Cesaris 3rd, 4th place, still the property of Alain Prost. So on to lap 9 of the 77-lap race. De Cesaris under a lot of pressure now from Prost. But look at Niki Lauda trying to take 5th place away from Patrick Tambay. And I think 3rd and 5th place may well change. And Lauda pulls out of Tambay's slipstream, and so does Alain Prost coming down the outside, taking 3rd place from De Cesaris into Crowthorns. 5th place now for Niki Lauda. So it's Piquet, Patrese, Alain Prost, De Cesaris. Then comes Niki Lauda. Then in 6th place is Patrick Tambay. 7th place Rosberg. 8th place René Arnoux. 9th place Eddie Cheever. 10th place for Derek Warwick. Now, can Alain Prost get up onto terms with Riccardo Patrese? We'll soon see, so join us again with more ESPN Auto Racing 83 coverage of the South African Grand Prix. There's drama here at the South African Grand Prix because René Arnoux' engine seems to have blown up. He's slowing down. The man who's in with an outside chance of the World Championship seems to be slowing down from 8th place. His World Championship hopes a run. There's 5th place man Lauda pulling away from 6th place man Patrick Tambay, the sole surviving Ferrari. And there is René Arnoux being passed by all and sundry. René Arnoux, who must realise that his challenge for the 1983 World Championship is now at an end. Surely he will pull into the pits and retire most disappointed from this race. Number 28, René Arnoux, the man who's been retained to partner Michele Alboreto in the 1984 Ferrari Formula One lineup, goes into the pits here in South Africa to retire. But the man who seems more and more likely to become this year's world champion, Brazilian Nelson Piquet, with the Parmalat Brabham BMW BT52 designed by Gordon Murray, absolutely pounding around this Kyalami circuit, pulling out an enormous lead prior, of course, to his first fuel stop. Now, the World Championship, in theory, could be won or lost in these fuel stops. And remember, it was Gordon Murray's idea to start these fuel stops back in the 1982 Formula One season. The Brabham team actually bungled their fuel stop at the last championship race at Brands Hatch. Although they still won the race, they could well have lost it, and it could be lost in the pits. So teamwork, all important to victory in the World Championship. As through there goes Niki Lauda. Lauda has passed Andrea de Cesaris, so Lauda is now up into 4th place. De Cesaris with the Alfa has dropped to 5th place. 2nd place still for Riccardo Patrese. Patrese in 2nd place, Parmalat Brabham's 1st and 2nd. Nelson Piquet passing Michele Alboreto, the man, of course, who is to drive for the Ferrari team next year. Meanwhile, a real challenge perhaps to Nelson Piquet will come from Niki Lauda, who's taken 3rd place from Alain Prost. Lauda goes up into 3rd place. 4th place now is Alain Prost. And we see it in replay. This most certainly is one of Lauda's strongest races of the year. Going through into 3rd place, taking another valuable place off Alain Prost. So the Porsche-powered TAG Turbo in the back of that McLaren working to very good effect. Bodes very well for the 1984 season, when all of the major teams, of course, will have turbo powers. The Cosworth DRV is no more. And look at that, because Lauda is now right behind Riccardo Patrese and challenging for 2nd place. Now the World Championship could be blown wide open if Lauda takes Patrese, closes in on race leader Nelson Piquet, who, remember, has got to make his fuel stop and could win this race. 2nd and 3rd now very close together indeed. Riccardo Patrese in 2nd place, under a lot of pressure from Lauda in 3rd place. 4th place for Alain Prost. Another retirement is Elio De Angelis with a misfiring engine, teammate to Nigel Mansell. And look at this battle. 2nd and 3rd very close together indeed. We've got the fuel stops to come. There is Nelson Piquet, race leader. Well clear of 2nd and 3rd place. This battle between the Brabham and the McLaren, passing some tail enders. Patrese getting the better of that, lapping the back markers, and they pulled well clear now of Alain Prost. We wait for Prost to come through in that 4th place. Alain Prost, French flags also flying here, but I think Prost seems to be well down on the order. Patrese locking up a break there. This battle between the Brabham and the McLaren, BMW versus Porsche TAG Turbo Power. And whilst all this is going on, the leader Nelson Piquet with just under 30-second lap lead, and De Cesaris' car smoking badly. Was it a locking brake? We don't know. De Cesaris battling there with Patrick Tambay. 5th and 6th, 7th place is Rosberg, and up into 8th place is Derek Warwick with the Tolman, and into the pits on lap 28 already comes Nelson Piquet. Now this is where the World Championship could be won or lost. All the tyres are being changed. There's the clock running. The fuel is going on. Hands up means the tyres have been fitted, the fuel is in, and they're away in, oh, that's an incredible pit stop. 9.20 seconds. He still retains his lead. It's unbelievable. The Parmalat Brabham of Nelson Piquet that has led from lap 1 has gone into the pit, out, and they're in 2nd and 3rd place right behind him. So 1st, 2nd and 3rd very close together. But remember that Nelson Piquet has taken the lead. The Parmalat Brabham team have worked like Trojans at these fuel stops. And what an incredible sight here in Kyalami. The world champion-elect, we can call him, Nelson Piquet, subject to him not retiring from this race, to no mechanical troubles. He can drop down to 4th place, just stay ahead of Alain Prost. He'll win the World Championship, and if the Parmalat Brabham team do win the World Championship for Nelson Piquet, it will have been due to an enormous, great team effort. But there in 2nd and 3rd place, there's the leader, second and third place. Still this tremendous battle between Riccardo Patrese and Niki Lauda, and the race really has come alive. So Patrese in second place, Lauda in third place, Prost in fourth place. There is first, second and third, not far apart, and Will Lauda looking perhaps for a second there to the inside line at Crowthorns. Round Crowthorns they go, through Barbecue Bend, then to the Just Sky Sweep, Sunset Bend, Clubhouse Bend, and there in fifth place still, Andrea de Cesaris being chased by Tambay, not far behind them, Rosberg in seventh place, Derek Warwick there in eighth place, closing in on Rosberg with the Williams Honda. Once again, a good performance by Warwick there, as Kenny Atchison having his first ever drive with the March Grand Prix car. Battle still on for second and third place though. And really Niki Lauda driving a really superb race here, but once again, look at that, Nelson Piquet seems to be edging away from that battle for second and third place. Prost is still ensconced in fourth place, but dropping back all the while. So bar any mechanical failures to the race leader, and Alain Prost there on and off the throttles for a second, and sure enough it looks as if fifth and sixth place man De Cesaris and Tambay are closing in slightly on Alain Prost. Eddie Cheever in ninth place with the second Renault, so both the Renaults have got to get to the top six placings and well up there, in fact, to win the Constructors' Championship. But remember, it's still a long race and anything can happen in motor racing. Second and third, still very close together indeed. There's De Cesaris, Tambay. There's Danny Sullivan up into 11th place, just behind Alboreto, who's the leading Cosworth runner, in 10th place. Still this battle for second and third place between Riccardo Patrese and Niki Lauda. Fourth place Alain Prost, about 7 seconds behind that battling duo for second place. De Cesaris fifth, Tambay in sixth place. Derek Warwick in fact goes into the pits on lap 31 for his pit stop. Nelson Piquet leads. The engine sounding quite crisp, the BMW four-cylinder turbo engine, 1.5 litres of course turbocharged. There's Alain Prost, and Prost I think now seems to be closing perhaps a little bit on the battle for second and third place. Still it's Patrese second, Lauda behind in third place, most certainly the best showing by the Porsche Tag turbo engine. And so Alain Prost, if he can make inroads on that second and third battle between these two, if Nelson Piquet hits trouble, things could change here still for the World Championship in the South African Grand Prix. Join us again with more ESPN coverage of this event after the short break. Welcome back to Kyle Army, and once again this battle for second and third place. Patrese second, third place for Lauda, and Lauda looks to be coming into the pits. Niki Lauda coming into the pits for his fuel stop. So up into third place will go Alain Prost. Parmalat Brabham still first and second. Into the pits comes the McLaren that showed so well. Into the stop, up go the internal air jacks, on go the fresh Michelin tyres, on goes the fuel. There's the clock. Not as quick as Nelson Piquet did, a 9.20 second lap. And there's a problem with the right rear tyre. They're having problems with the thread, and this is a long fuel stop for Niki Lauda. And he's away in just over 23 seconds. He'll have lost something like 13 seconds in the pits due to that problem with that rear tyre. So on lap 34, it's Piquet, Patrese, Alain Prost, Andrea de Cesaris in fourth place. In fifth place becomes Tambay. Sixth now is Cheever. In seventh place is Niki Lauda out of the pits. Eighth place is Derek Warwick, and in ninth place Bruno Giacomelli. There is Derek Warwick in eighth place. Not far behind him is teammate Bruno Giacomelli. In 10th place, number one now, is Keke Rosberg. Of the 26 cars that started, we've had 8 retirements. Corrado Fabi going out with an engine problem on lap 28. De Angelis on lap 20 with that misfire. John Watson was black flag on lap 18. Still the battle for 5th and 6th place between De Cesaris and Patrick Tambay. There's Bruno Giacomelli, now being lapped by race leader Nelson Piquet. Alboreto in 10th place. 5th still, though, for De Cesris, about to lap Alboreto. Alboreto, of course, with a normal Cosworth with that Tyrrell. And into 6th place goes Nicky Lauda, past Eddie Cheever. Cheever still has to make that fuel stop, remember. And there, once again, Alboreto about to be lapped by De Cesris' 5th place Alfa Romeo, and the Ferrari of Tambay in 6th place. And Prost is into the pits for his fuel stop. Prost on lap 35, but he seems to be going quite slowly. They're ready for him. This could be his most important fuel stop of his career, certainly of the 1983 season. There's the clock. And Prost is getting out. It's sensation. Prost is getting out. He's sat in the car for 10 seconds, walking away from the car. There must be a problem with the engine. They're calling Gerard Larousse over. There's almost an argument in the pits there. An engine problem, some form of misfire, I think. Perhaps a turbo problem for Alain Prost, but Alain Prost is out of the South African Grand Prix. It's absolutely sensational. He will not be the first French world champion. There's going to be a lot of repercussions, I think, within the Renault team. Alain Prost walked clearly into the garage. He's out of the race, out of the World Championship. Renault will not win the Manufacturers' World Championship, which will almost certainly now go, of course, to Ferrari. There is the world champion-elect, Nelson Piquet. But remember, if Nelson Piquet hits mechanical problems and finishes lower than 5th place now, he will not be world champion. Alain Prost will be. So we could still have a few surprises in store in the 1983 South African Grand Prix. But at the moment it is Piquet leading, but he seems to be slowing down perhaps a little bit. Up into 3rd place is De Cesris now. In 4th place comes number 27, the Ferrari. In 5th place will be Lauda, and into 6th place will be Derek Warwick, because Eddie Cheever is going into the pits to refuel. So Warwick there up into 6th place, with the Tolman powered, of course, by the Hart 4-cylinder engine. Keke Rosberg now is up into 7th place with the Williams Honda. He's already pitted. De Cesris 3rd, Tambay in 4th place. For those positions somewhat academic, all eyes on the race leader, Nelson Piquet. Piquet going for his 2nd World Championship. Remember, he was World Champion in 1981. And there's the battle for 3rd place. Tambay moving much closer now to Andrea De Cesris. Tambay with the Ferrari. These two have yet to make their fuel stop. There's 5th place man Nicky Lauda with the McLaren Tag Turbo. Here's the pit stop for Eddie Cheever, number 16. New tyres going on, fuel going on board. Alain Prost watching the monitors by the pit wall to see if there could be a problem with Nelson Piquet's car. 11.5 seconds just over the pit stop for Eddie Cheever with the Renault. He goes back out into the race in 8th place. Nelson Piquet, though, still leading. And it's confirmed to us that Alain Prost, who retired, of course, on lap 35, had a problem with the turbo. The turbo failed on that car. So the championship comes right down to whether Nelson Piquet with the Parmalat Brabham BMW can finish higher than 5th place. 3rd and 4th getting a little bit fraught now. De Cesris locking a brake at Crowthorns. Number 22. De Cesris with the Alfa, the V8 turbo in the back of that, of course, the Alfa, as opposed to the V6 turbo in the back of the Ferrari, number 27. But these two putting on a good display of racing here at Kyalami. Just 37 laps to go, and there Piquet leads. He's got an 8-second advantage over Patrese. De Cesris some 30 seconds back, as is Tambay. 4th place then Tambay right behind De Cesris. 5th Lauda, 6th Warwick, and Tambay looking to get past Andrea De Cesris, and De Cesris I think coming in for his fuel stop. Yes, he is. Tambay goes through into 3rd place. De Cesris into the pits. Tambay all by himself now, the lone Ferrari, man who was in pole position with that superb time. And there De Cesris comes to a halt. The clock will go on. The Alpha mechanics around that car. 5 seconds, 6, 7, 8. The wheels are on. And a good pit stop, 11.27 seconds So out goes Andrea de Cesaris, who drops down only 1 place, in fact goes down to 5th. So to recap, Piquet, Patrese, Tambay is in 3rd place, still to make his fuel stop. In 4th place is Niki Lauda. In 5th place, Andrea de Cesaris. 6th place is Derek Warwick. Join us again for the conclusion of the South African Grand Prix after these messages. Back to ESPN's coverage of the 1983 South African Grand Prix, the World Championship decider. Still the Parmalat Brabhams in 1st and 2nd place. Patrick Tambay in 3rd place with the Ferrari is yet to make his pit stop. Interesting to note, incidentally, that Tambay retired himself from Formula One racing at the South African Grand Prix last year when he was driving for the Arrows team, because of course that was the time of that strike and he didn't agree with the strike, so he decided he had enough of Formula One politics. He was brought back into Formula One racing by Ferrari, of course, at the untimely death of Gilles Villeneuve, and he's coming in now to make his fuel stop. So he'll relinquish that 3rd place. 3rd place will go back into the hands of the incredible Austrian Niki Lauda with the McLaren Tag Turbo, who had that very long pit stop, but he's been fighting his way back up through the field, now back up into 3rd place. Nobody's fuel stop as quick, of course, as Piquet's stop, 9.20 seconds he had, which must constitute a record for the fuel stops. And there into 4th place is Tambay. That's soon to be taken away from him by de Cesaris, who has already made his fuel stop. He's on warm tyres. Patrick Tambay's car a little bit skittish there going through Crowthorns, because of course his tyres still have to warm up to full working temperatures. So de Cesaris in 4th place, Tambay in 5th place, and Derek Warwick in 6th place. 7th place for Keke Rosberg. 8th place will be Eddie Cheever. In 9th place, Michele Alboreto, the first of the Cosworth normally aspirated engines running, and moving into the top 10, Danny Sullivan with the 2nd Benetton Tyrrell. Nelson Piquet there, now about to lap Keke Rosberg. As into the pits comes Riccardo Patrese, 2nd place man, the Parmalat Brabham BMW. The tyres have gone on, the fuel's going in once again. Not quite as quick as Nelson Piquet, but nevertheless just a second slower. Back into the race then goes Riccardo Patrese, still in 2nd place. And it's amazing to think that Patrese made his fuel stop a full 18 laps later than the race leader, Nelson Piquet. So a very tactical manoeuvre by the Parmalat Brabham team. Out of the pits comes Bruno Giacomelli, who was as high as 8th place earlier on. The battle, though, still for 4th and 5th place between Andrea de Cesaris and, of course, Patrick Tambay. 6th place there still for Derek Warwick. And there, Riccardo Patrese, now having had his fuel stop. And there is Nelson Piquet, now I am certain, turning down the boost on the BMW Turbo, knowing full well that the World Championship is within his grasp. And in fact, Riccardo Patrese, his teammate, is closing up on him. De Cesaris seems to be pulling away a little bit from Patrick Tambay. That's Bruno Giacomelli behind, trying, I think, to unlap himself from Patrick Tambay. Through goes Tambay. Tambay still lying in 5th place. Warwick in 6th place, remember. And there is de Cesaris pulling away now slightly. Patrick Tambay, the man who many people thought would stay at Ferrari next year, and I think he himself thought that he was going to do just that. Seems to be slowing down a little bit, as is Nelson Piquet, who ran a little bit wide there on the entry to the corner. He's got to be very careful, because believe you me, Alain Prost is sitting by his television monitor praying to all the gods that there may be up in the heaven that this man Nelson Piquet is going to hit some serious problems. The battle for 7th and 8th place now. Eddie Cheever in 7th place. Keke Rosberg with the Williams Honda, its debut race here, in 8th place. They've of course been lapped. The Williams Honda says Honda V6, another major manufacturer entering World Grand Prix racing. They're really Grand Prix racing, having so many manufacturers vying for the publicity, vying to test their product in front of this world market, world television coverage for the Grand Prix series. And through he goes into 7th place now. Rosberg going through to 7th. And so on lap 56, Tambay has dropped back. Tambay has dropped back behind Warwick. And there, I think Tombe is slowing right down. Tombe has dropped down to 6th place. And up into 6th place, sure enough, goes Kiki Rosberg with the Williams Honda. Up now into 7th place will go Eddie Cheever. And Patrick Tombe is slowing right down there. A problem with the engine or a problem with the turbo. It looks to us if on lap 56, Patrick Tombe's race is run, his last ever race for the Ferrari team. A real shame, as he was on pole position for this race. High, of course, and it's 3rd place early on. There is Patrick Tombe slowing down all the while. And yes, it looks to be a cutout perhaps of the turbo. He's driving across the track on the entrance to the S's, the exit of Clubhouse Bend. And there, Bruno Giacomelli's car. Bruno Giacomelli's car, I think, is on fire at the rear end. Oh, yes, it is. Look at that. Bruno Giacomelli's car is on fire. Does he realise it's catching a light? It's going up towards the Le Coq Bend. He's going to have to get towards the marshal's post. The marshals are running towards him. The flames are licking the back end of the Tolman Hart. Giacomelli must get out of that car quickly. It's sensation here at Kyalami. Remember, that car is still well full of fuel, and that car could go up like a blazing torch. This could be serious. The marshals are rushing to the aid of Bruno Giacomelli. Giacomelli must get out of the car. The rear end of the car is alight. Giacomelli should be a little bit quicker. And there, the fuel being doused by the marshals. The fire extinguisher is being sprayed all over that car. Look at this. 1st and 2nd. Piquet slowed right down. Could Piquet have hit trouble? Nelson Piquet could be in problems here because Riccardo Patrese is right on his tail. It's all happening here in the last 10 laps of the South African Grand Prix. Could be a change of leadership. Could Nelson Piquet have hit trouble? There's Riccardo Patrese. Where's Nelson Piquet? We can't see Piquet. Yes, Piquet is, or is he not, in 2nd place? Can Niki Lauda get past him? And there is Piquet in 2nd place. Patrese has taken the lead. In 2nd place now is Nelson Piquet. Well, could Piquet be in trouble? Because in 3rd place and closing in on 1st and 2nd place is Niki Lauda. The World Championship title run is not yet over. Sullivan is up into 9th place, of course, but all eyes on Nelson Piquet. There's Patrese. Where is Piquet? There is Piquet in 2nd place. Is Piquet in with a problem? We just don't know. And there is Alain Prost. Well, he is very interested in this, believe you me. René Arnoux, well, I shouldn't think he gives a damn, to be honest. But we could, because there is this battle now. It is 2nd, Piquet. 3rd is Lauda, and Lauda is taking 2nd place off Nelson Piquet, and it's all change here. So just 7 laps to go to the end of the South African Grand Prix. Patrese leads. Lauda is in 2nd place. Piquet is in 3rd place. Lauda is pulling away from Piquet. Is Piquet just slowing down on the side of caution, or could he be in problems? Remember, look at this! Oh, Nelson Piquet goes back into 2nd place because out of the race goes Niki Lauda after an absolutely sensational race. And really, ladies and gentlemen, the South African Grand Prix is turning into quite a spectacular event in these dying moments of the World Championship. We still are not quite sure. And Andre de Cesris has got past Nelson Piquet. So de Cesris is now in 2nd place. Patrese leads. De Cesris is in 2nd place. Piquet is slowing in 3rd place. And so it's lap 77, the last lap of the South African Grand Prix. Riccardo Patrese has gone through. De Cesris is in 2nd place. Piquet is slowing in 3rd place. Can he make it round the last lap? He's less than 2 miles from the World Championship victory for himself, for BMW, and for the Parmalat Brabham team. And so Riccardo Patrese heading towards victory, his 2nd Grand Prix victory of his career. But all eyes are on the checkered flag. Here's Nelson Piquet in 3rd place. Nelson Piquet finishes 3rd and is the 1983 World Champion. And the Brabham team are jubilant. I think here we should remember that the BMW turbo engine is only in its 2nd full season of Formula One Grand Prix racing, because it's made its racing debut in the South African Grand Prix back in March of 1982. The World Manufacturers' Championship is won by Ferrari on 89 points, Renault 2nd with 79, 3rd Brabham BMW with 72. But the eyes of the world are on the new 1983 World Drivers' Champion, Nelson Piquet, driving, of course, the Parmalat Brabham BMW. And so the most prestigious series in motor racing, the Formula One World Grand Prix Championship, comes to an end here in South Africa after 15 races in 12 countries over 4 continents.
A great drive, your second win ever. Was this more thrilling for you than your Monaco win last year?
No, it was not more thrilling. I think Monaco was a little bit more a surprise than this one, because in a stage the race was coming very easy for us, especially the last part of the race. Also the beginning. I mean, we plan a race and we play the race how we plan. I mean, we didn't have any problem, me or Nelson. The cars were perfect in any condition. Tires, Michelin, engine, BMW was perfect, the chassis was perfect. I mean, everything worked very well.
If the point situation would have been where you had to give up a victory for Nelson to win the championship, what would you have done?
Yes, it was already planned. The plan was Nelson started with less fuel than I did, and he had to go and lead the race, and I had to hold all the field just to give him a big lead. And he had to lead the race, the first part of the race. At the end, if he had a comfortable lead like he had, and he had to save the car for the championship, just to control the race, I had the permission from the team to win the race, how it happened. And so we did. Otherwise, if we had to fight with other people, he had to win. Or even if he was fifth and I was winning the race, I had to stop to let him to get one place to win the championship, and I was doing that, no problem.
Alain Prost, how do you feel at this moment?
I don't feel very bad because I think I was not very lucky, but my car was not competitive, and I think the Brabham and Nelson were very, very strong, and I couldn't do nothing to win this championship because they won the last 3 races with the Brabham team is very good, Nelson is very strong, and I think I didn't lose by my fault. I think my car was not competitive enough.
I noticed in the last corner before the straight you kept using different gears. Were you having trouble with the gearbox there?
No, I had no trouble with the gearbox, but I had a problem with the engine, and I was obliged to change down the gears because my engine had no power in the low revs.
Best of luck in '84.
Yeah, I think we have to work a lot because our car is not very, very good, and I hope to have a much more competitive car next year.
You will be definitely staying with Renault.
Yeah, I stay with Renault. We have to work.
Nelson, a very tactical race. Was this your race plan to pull out such a tremendous lead at the first half?
Yes, we started the car very light with not much fuel, and we tried to make the people who run behind us and maybe blow up the engine or maybe finish the tires. We pull up the lead, and after we had the lead, we slowed down, and we did the race to win the championship.
Were you in constant communications with your pit? Did you know what was going on with your competition?
Exactly, all the time. They give all the board, all the signal, and they have no problem at all.
So you're always computing that in your mind, what the points were and the positions and everything?
Yes, I was look the second I have, what I could spare, or how come I could slow down.
Nelson, personally, what does it mean for you to win your second championship?
I tell you, it means or not. I really want to win this championship for me. You know, let's see, the way in 1981, maybe I said I want to win for the team, for the mechanic, for everything. But now I really want to win for myself. And for sure, I go try to win several another ones because I think I'm just the beginning of motor racing. And I think I'm very young still, and I have all the wish to still racing a lot.
You've had an incredibly strong combination of tires, engine, chassis. Do you think you'll be able to maintain your edge over the other teams next year?
Well, it's very difficult to say I will maintain, but we fighting for. Of course, Michelin will be fighting to do the best tire. Gordon Moore will be fighting to do the best car. And I think I will be trying to be a very good driver. That's it.
And your BMW motor, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Russia, BMW is doing a fantastic job. In 2 years, the car is the most powerful engine, and it was the most powerful car in the straight lines, and I think that's very good.
How are you going to celebrate tonight?
I think I'm getting drunk.
This has been John Bizignano and Brian Kreisky. We've enjoyed bringing you this ESPN coverage of the South African Grand Prix and the exciting conclusion of the 1983 Formula One season. Thank you for joining us. Next year, we're planning a full schedule of 90-minute Grand Prix coverage, and we'll be looking for you in ESPN Auto Racing 84. Goodbye from Johannesburg, South Africa.